So in a way, the playing field's leveled a little bit.
The labor market's still resilient. There's still actually more job opportunities. So if you're a job seeker, you want to ask yourself, what is my plan B? What is my escape route? What can I do to sustain myself if I'm laid off or prepared for something unforeseen?
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Sayva Spotlight Shorts. Today, we will be doing a tech industry update with our resident tech consulting and recruitment expert, Jared Sanderson. Jared has over 20 years of talent management experience in the technology space and is the Technology Consulting Managing Director for Sayva Solutions. Give him a follow on LinkedIn. Jared, thanks for joining today.
Yeah, thanks for having me back again, John.
So let's tackle some of the hot topics going around right now in the industry. Last time we chatted a few months back, it was post big tech layoff. So there was a lot of things going on in the job market then. Can you give us an update on what the tech job outlook looks like today and what we can expect in the market environment?
The market hasn't changed drastically over the last few months. Many of the enterprise companies that have done some pretty significant rifts have slowed down a bit. There's been some smaller cuts still out there. So we've seen a cooling off overall a little bit over the summer. But the most recent job report showed that we added 187 jobs in July, 187,000 jobs in July, which is actually just slightly above the monthly average rate seen prior to the pandemic. So overall, it's not terrible. The labor market's still resilient. There's still actually more job opportunities than there are candidates looking for work, especially hiring areas within the areas that we typically work around with just technology, as well as our other division in accounting and finance for specialized talent.
When you talk to your recruiting managers and the hiring managers at the clients, what are you hearing from them?
Lately, we're seeing both through through the recruiters as well as internally. What we're seeing is there is a more inbound approach of applicants. People are pressing apply a lot more nowadays, and what we've noticed as well, because part of the layoffs, a lot of the people impacted were the talent acquisition professionals. More people, there's less people to screen applicants, and with more volume, which causes a little bit of a backlog, if you will, of getting to people and responding timely there as well. It's taking them a little bit more time to screen and identify that top talent, because you're dealing with more volume, and leaving the talent acquisition and the recruiters less time to do more outbound targeted outreach because they're managing the inbound applicants.
So theoretically, the recruiters and the hiring managers, they may have a bigger pool of candidates to pick from, but it's increasingly harder to sift through since there's, some of the recruiters have been affected by these layoffs.
And it's not like there's a huge abundance, but you'll see a lot more applicants because of the fact that you've also have these barriers that have come down with remote employees being able to just apply anywhere, whereas before people just apply within their home city and where they would be willing to commute. Companies are saying, well, we've got a lot of applicants. Let's just, we see someone we really like, but we want one or two more to compare. And so they're losing some people in the process while they're, continuously sifting through to have, that two or three top people that they want to interview.
Sure. The time can kill deals sometimes. From the job seekers that you've been talking to, what's their take on on this market environment? If I'm somebody who was laid off maybe 6 months ago, my severance is coming to an end and I'm looking to join the next place, what's their perspective?
I've been speaking to individuals from early stage, that in their career, as well as executives, and an executive I sat down with recently was actually he hadn't looked for work in a while, and he actually decided on his own to transition out. But he was pretty blown away just by the lack of response from even people he'd worked with over the years that had referred him into companies to even just chat with them about opportunities, going through, first round of interviews and then not hearing back for a few weeks. And it was just the response time, the experience wasn't as he was expecting back 8 years ago or so. It was a little bit disheartening, even though someone has good experience, bring a lot to the table. Just they weren't hearing as much as they'd like, and having a really smooth process. So a well-oiled machine from a recruiting standpoint can really help enhance the experience and put a good image on your company. Even if you don't have anything to say, saying something and providing some information is better than nothing, in my opinion, and from what I've heard from people in the search.
Absolutely. So if you're a candidate right now and you're looking for a new job. What would you say their experience has been in this current environment?
I speak to individuals from early stage in their career to executives, and it has been not the most positive experience from a lot of people because they've been applying and it sometimes goes into the abyss of not hearing back. One executive I had coffee with just recently transitioned out on his own, actually hadn't been part of a layoff, even though the company had done some layoffs, was working too many hours, decided to take some time for his family, start seeking employment just recently. But his experience was that even through referrals, people he knew would get an interview and then not hear back for a few weeks. So overall, the experience was a little disheartening, wasn't as positive and fluid that it really could be, especially now that with technology, we have all these processes and tools to create reminders and to create engagement with someone within their job search. So overall, I think it's gone down a little bit, especially for companies that have, again, had to downsize some of their talent acquisition team, and they don't have that human touch that they used to have before.
Sure. On to the hiring manager, right? The other side of this. So, you talked a little bit before about how there's a larger pool of candidates, harder to sift through. But how are these hiring managers continuing to attract top talent again in this market, just because there is some uncertainty? And when the competition decreases a little bit, you don't have to maybe offer as much.
Hiring managers are looking for quality. They want proven performers. They are a little more apprehensive, especially if someone's laid off, like what's their red flags? Why are they impacted? So if someone's been referred to them or the individual can really speak about what they've accomplished in their role is really helpful. So they're really looking for someone that can bring something to the table they don't have internally. Some attraction that companies have, especially in the mid-market, that may not have been able to track some of these top talent candidates before because of money, which could have been a barrier. They're now able to attract them because money may not always be the most important thing. They're not able to get that in some of the other companies, but they can attract stability and they can really make an impact there if they're offering a remote environment to capture some of these candidates that are in the marketplace. So the bidding war, if you will, there is still definitely bidding happening out there, but it's not much. Not nearly as much as there was a couple of years ago. So mid-sized companies are definitely attracting and being able to get some top talent.
So in a way, the playing field's leveled a little bit.
It has, yeah.
So moving on to the next topic. So let's say you're talking to somebody who currently works at a big tech company and they're nervous about potential layoffs. Maybe there's just some economic uncertainty facing this company. Maybe their last earnings report wasn't as strong as the investor hoped. And, they're just concerned that, another wave of layoffs could happen. What would be your advice to that person?
Great question. The individual needs to think about a couple of things because they definitely have options. The environment is still fairly robust in the sense that there is more jobs and there are employees. They got to look at what's important for them. If the culture and location of where they're working, are they wanting to work in a remote environment? Are they wanting to work hybrid or on site? Because that also dictates where they're going to be working and who they're going to be working for, which boundaries are them. So some individuals will consider stability with an organization over high growth, right? So just start putting your hat on around what's important to you. To give you some more background about kind of some of the work I've done and helped some individuals. I've consulted in this space, recruitment and consulting, for about 20 years. One of the organizations, John, I work with is called the Honor Foundation, and we help professionals, Navy SEALs, Special Forces transition from a career in the military into the civilian world. And they bring a lot of good tools and skills, but they don't know how to talk the talk and walk the walk in the civilian world. So some things in my conversations with me that really stuck, and I want to share it with the audience here, is they always have this thing called a go bag. And I don't know, do you know what a go bag is, John? Are you familiar with that term? Or?
No, I don't. No, I'm not familiar.
Basically, for an emergency or high-risk situation, helps you facilitate a quick self-guided evacuation and sustain yourself, whether it's with food, water, shelter, etc. I guess to jump back to the question, these special forces have a go bag that they're always ready for anything thrown at them. So if you're a job seeker, you want to ask yourself, what is my plan B? What is my escape route? What can I do to sustain myself if I'm laid off or prepared for something unforeseen? So what would you put, in your go bag? it's not even just for those people that are, thinking that there might be a layoff. It could be for an individual that's, and some of these tips I even recommend highly for people that are in a stable career and they're not actively looking. They want to keep their network constantly engaged. So I'll share some areas with you guys here. Jump in. So we didn't have time to go through that as much. Well, so what would you put in your go bag? John, these can apply to anything in any scenario. So it's not just someone that's going to be transitioning out or kind of has a risk because they think there's going to be layoffs. It could be someone in a stable career as well. So I speak to people all day. A lot of them are senior contributors working, but a lot are established executives, and they're all really hardworking, smart. But in speaking to one leader who I really admire and stands out to me, he does an amazing job of making sure his go bag's always ready. And so just from my conversations with him and knowing, here's some things from my experience and from learning from him that I hope will just resonate with people, in this podcast and hearing from it. So number one is to engage. What's engage? It's actually building authentic relationships with your team. So it's from your leadership to coworkers, to subordinates, and partners, so vendor partners. Get to know them personally. Get to know what they're doing on the weekend. I know you love to run and, to do marathons and build some camaraderie within that. So what motivates them? How can you help them get there? One thing this leader really does is he champions his people and his partners to help them deliver. So, and things he does for them don't even have to be huge. It's actually just building some incremental layers of trust. So an example would be you talk about something about running and share an article about running with that person. It just builds a level of trust, saying, hey, you'll make an introduction to somebody and actually following through with that and making the introduction. So if he was ever in need of help, he would have an army of advocates just looking to work with him and help him. And so that just is one thing. So engage, number one.
It's simple but powerful, and it doesn't take a lot. It just takes, again, that incremental effort over time, and just, being a decent person.
So, some other things would be keep things fresh, right? Is update your resume, even when it doesn't need to be revised. So as you have a successful, deployment, or you do something really well, you're excited about, just update it regularly with your accomplishments. So then, if you're ever having a look, you don't have to go back and think about all those little things you've done. And you have this amalgamation of really positive successes you can share. And you can use it as part of your story when you're engaging with. You can also keep your skills sharp by just following companies that you're always interested in. And, if there is an opportunity for an informational interview, engage in that conversation, seeing what they're doing. Is it something that captivates you where your skills could add value and can progress in your career? And another thing that this leader does, he himself does that. He engages in regularly, once or twice a year, informational interviews with companies he's interested in, and he encourages his team to do it. Because guess what? If there's grass greener on the other side where someone can offer someone more advancement or more career growth than he can provide to his team, he's like, go ahead and take it. Because guess what? He's championing them to leave, the company on a good note and make sure he's setting them up for success. But it also challenges him to be a better leader to ensure he's setting them up for success by following their passions and their motivations. So he's never blindsided by his team.
That's a really powerful statement right there, and what confidence in a leader to be okay with doing that. I can't say I've come across many people that would be okay with that.
Definitely. In addition to engaging, networking. So outside of networking with your internal team, it's networking with the meetup groups, the user groups, alumni organizations, having your mentors working with you. So keep connected with these people on a regular cadence. Hang out with people really that raise your energy, push you, beyond your current needs. So you're always, leveling up your game. And, these relationships take time to build. So, you don't expect it to happen overnight. Don't just say, I'm just going to start it one day and then not. Build it into your operating room.
Absolutely. That's the networking thing. I know a lot of people say, hey, I hate networking. And I think they think of these more traditional, mixer type environments, but it doesn't really have to be like that. It could be a 15-minute Zoom call. It could be a local, coffee shop where you just meet up with one person. And I think that there's a lot more to networking than, again, the traditional cocktail party where you have a name tag and, you're trying to walk up to 5 people you don't know.
Go into those conversations with curiosity and just be willing to learn. And you never know who you're going to speak to and what you're going to come out with it, and also be able to contribute back to someone else as well.
Absolutely.
And the final item, John, is learning. So just being in a constant state of learning. And myself personally, my wife and I have gone on a big journey of just education from books, podcasts, seminars. It's not just career focused, it's a lot around mindset. So building your kind of core foundation to be able to engage better at work, to be able to engage better with our family life, to be able to engage better with anyone we interact with and be more present in the moment has been super helpful for my just professional development and career development, but also on a personal level. So constant learning, so important.
Yeah, and I think when you carry that focus outside of work, whether it's a mindset book or something else that you're interested in, it really just it helps elevate your focus. Really important to have those hobbies outside of work. And for learning, lately I've been mostly just learning with my 3-year-old on every dinosaur that's ever existed. So even that's good. Might not help me much, but it's something, right?
Curiosity from a 3 to 4-year-old is incredible. It inspires you all, to do good things.
Absolutely. All right, Jared. So last question here before we wrap up. I know there's a couple big events going on in San Diego that are great for people in the tech space. Can you give us, some information on that and where we can find you over the next few weeks?
Yeah, I have some. Just going to make sure I look at the dates here to get them correct this time. And for those just as well thinking, hey, this person, I don't like to network. I'm an introvert. A lot of software IT professionals, they're a bit more introverted, but the smartest, just the most engaged people that I speak to are in the tech profession because they're very thoughtful. They just understand how things work and they like to solve problems. So my job again is to build relationships over time. It's not easy, but put yourself out there, put yourself in a bit of an uncomfortable situation from time to time, and you'll continue to learn and grow. So a couple events here in San Diego. We've got in September, which is September 13th. It's the Top Tech Exec. It's recognizing IT leaders throughout San Diego, what they've accomplished, and just getting together with friends within that sphere of influence, if you will. So a lot of really good people. That's on September 13th at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. And then the next day, on earlier stage companies on the Innovation Day at Petco Park, which is September 14th, which is all about an opportunity to look at some cutting edge technologies and what's happening in the tech and science ecosystem. And it's a really great opportunity to connect with some of these organizations earlier on. I wanted to also leave the audience with one thought here is how do you engage in your network? Just think on it. What are you reading? What are you listening to staying positive and in the right mindset for when these challenges come your way, or you're currently in the middle of just being in transition? So where's your mindset? Are you thinking positive? Are you doing those things to get your mindset right, especially when you got to go back on the job search? And then can you make incremental tweaks every day in your operating rhythm so that you can build just your go bag on a continuous basis and have it ready for when shit hits the fan, if you will?
Yeah. You got to keep habit stacking, right? It just keep building on it.
Exactly.
Well, thanks so much, Jared. This has been great. Everybody follow Jared Sanderson on LinkedIn. And Jared, we'll do this again in a couple months for our year-end wrap.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it, John.
All right. Thank you.